One. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Inside Movies Galore. I am one of your hosts, but tonight we are going to go on about a serious film called Event Horizon. And it is a 1997 film directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, or otherwise known as Paul Anderson.
Right.
And I figured I'd go give you a small synopsis that IMDb has here. You've let's see. So basically, the film is this: we have a scientist who is played by Sam Neill. Who has created a machine that's in a ship that has disappeared. And basically he's scrambled a team together to go and find the ship, and where it's come back from, we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So, why don't we go over to, Kim, you haven't been on with us for a while. Why don't you tell me your first impression of this film, and what's your first thoughts on it?
Well, I saw this sometime. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So I saw this sometime in high school, and I don't know what it was about it at the time. It was scary because I think it was just after Jason X came out. Of course, we have the whole like grunge, electronica, like rave type music, and even some movies that were coming out at that time. But I was like, oh my God, this is freaking scary. Like the whole idea that, because I was fascinated with space. I think this is after they sent John Glenn back into space for some weird ass reason. And so say what?
It was about a year before that.
What, the movie or the
a year before John Glenn went into space.
Okay. So I was like, okay, so I started becoming more fascinated about space at the time. I remember asking my mom, like, do you remember like the space race and Gemini and Mercury and all that stuff? She's like, oh yeah, sure. She was, probably something about it. So of course I became fascinated, this is years after Star Trek and stuff like that. And this idea that we'd have a spaceship that went faster than the speed of light, and then this movie came out, and then I watched it, and I was like, you know what? I'm good. I don't want to go into space anymore. Alien, and then Aliens didn't quite do it, and then this movie went. I'm good. I would say my black ass right here on Earth.
If I remember correctly, Sam Neill's character, he said
largely the same.
His ship could go from the point of A to B and not realize all that in between, and the backlash of doing that is basically what we get here.
Right.
Well, Sam Neill's character, if you wanted to go into a science fiction realm, he was almost like a modern day version of Frankenstein, of Victor Frankenstein.
Right.
And Event Horizon was his monster. And David, damn you and that damn cigarette, because I am 3.5 years smoke free.
He reminded me a lot in this one of he reminded me a lot of his Alan Grant character from Jurassic Park, but much darker. And you're right, Frankenstein's a pretty good comparison. Yeah.
So Alan Grant would have had enough sense to be like,
yeah,
let's not take it there. He would, because even he realized, remember the conversation, I hate to derail it, but just remember the conversation between him, Laura Dern, and Jeff Goldblum,
Yeah.
when they're talking about the chaos of creating dinosaurs that had their chance, and it's like millions of years in the future. Even he was like, you know what, this is probably not a good idea. I don't feel like his character from Jurassic Park would agree with his character from Event Horizon, because his character in Event Horizon, he never once thought, he never really dreamed that the ship would go to those depths.
Right.
And then he became, crazy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, his mannerisms, the way he delivered a lot of the lines really reminded me. I mean, Sam Neill, but it just hit me hard. It hit me hard, like Alan Grant, a lot of times. But you're right. He drank that Frankenstein Kool-Aid. I mean, that's definitely, he was a whole different mindset in this one.
Speaking to you, Jake, what were your first impressions of this film? Was this a first time watch for you?
It was definitely a first time watch, and my first impression was, how cool is it seeing Alfred so foul mouthed and younger? Because Sean Pertwee.
Yeah, because he was
in Gotham,
Gotham, yes.
Yeah.
Wait, you just saw this recently?
Yeah, I just saw it.
What?
And it was also, some other familiar faces too. You got Jason Isaacs in there, and of course Lawrence Fishburne, and you got a really good cast. And that was one of my biggest things, was I really did feel that the cast was well chosen. They did a really good job. I didn't mean to knock Sam Neill before. I like him as an actor, and I think he did good with the role. And once he really, really went evil, he played it well. Obviously, there were scenes I didn't care for. There were parts of the movie where I wasn't really watching it. So that happened. But luckily, a lot of the worst scenes were like flash cut. And I hate flash cutting, but since I wasn't really watching the screen, it didn't bother me. And then my secondary impression, I had not looked into, I knew the name Paul Anderson was familiar. I did not realize this was the follow-up to Mortal Kombat. I love that.
Nice.
And Brandon, you were talking about those Resident Evil movies. I believe those are the 3 movies that this director did. The Afterlife, Retribution, and Final Chapter. Is that the ones you meant?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was this director. So that was a fun tie-in.
He didn't do Resident Evil 2. So.
He did the first one, though.
What's up?
I talking about the animated ones.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, yeah. Well, still, Resident Evil, a good tie-in to our previous discussion. Check that out. But, I'm just, it was good. It did do a good job creating a basic sense of dread. Like, it was a really creepy movie. I will give it that. And, yeah.
As for myself, I came at this. I knew that I knew the name, but I didn't see it when it came out. I actually saw it a couple of years ago when my fiance turned me onto it, and I went into it the first time knowing that it was not well received at the time, and the fact that it was a Hellraiser ripoff. So, and this was probably at a time that I wasn't viewing movies at that point in time, at least as deeply, and came to a realization that, that even though it has Hellraiser vibes, I think it is kind of its own thing. I mean, and that's what I gained from my second viewing of it recently. To me, I definitely got a Pinhead vibe from the initial character that Sam Neill eventually became when he was crazed. And because you get these flashbacks of, torture, I don't get a Lovecraftian feel of it because of these torture scenes. I get more of the Hellraiser vibe when it comes to those hellish pain and pleasure points that you get throughout the Hellraiser series. And I want to get to Forrest. Forrest, what were your first feelings on this film?
Okay, so I didn't see this one when it came out either. I was only 9 years old when it came out. But I did catch it. But I caught it about a year later on TV when I was about 10. By that time I had already seen I had already watched the Alien movies, so I definitely got that vibe watching it. Actually, since you mentioned it being a Hellraiser ripoff, I actually found this to be a better Hellraiser in space movie than Hellraiser Bloodline was. And I really liked the. I mean, granted, I was watching it, watching earlier today. I noticed that some of the special effects don't hold up. But I definitely like that very clear, that very claustrophobic feel of movies like Event Horizon, Alien. I can't lose my train of thought again.
Maybe 2001: A Space Odyssey.
2001, yeah. There's that sense of claustrophobia and constant dread, or persistent dread. But overall, I would say this. For me, this is probably Paul W. S. Anderson. Not a really director that I've ever been a huge fan of. I mean, Alien vs. Predator is one of my bottom 5 movies of all time. But I do, but for me, that I would say this and Mortal Kombat are his two best movies.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. How about you, Dustin? What were your thoughts on this? Was this your first time seeing it?
Well, so over the summer, there was a lot of buzz when Shout Factory announced this as one of their upcoming Blu-ray releases. So I pre-ordered it, and it was supposed to arrive in time for our show, but then it got delayed all the way back to January. So this was the first time I saw it. And I really wish that Blu-ray is here because I'd really like to learn more about it. So I got definite Lovecraft vibes from this movie. I was actually calling it Lovecraft in space. I mean, it did become kind of Hellraiser. It did become pretty Hellraiser-y near the end. But I think the Lovecraftian cosmic dread is still there. So I would call this a Lovecraftian movie. I liked it. I thought it was pretty great. Definitely some surprisingly graphic stuff in there. As the ship becomes an entity unto itself. I thought it was going to turn into an Alien ripoff. But I thought the ship was going to be full of creatures.
Yeah.
But we got a pretty pleasant surprise. So I was really happy with it.
I want to say that there's another movie that this somewhat similarly reminds me of. If anyone knows a movie called Sphere.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Heard of it, never saw it.
Yes.
Actually,
I love it.
Dave, are you looking at the IMDb page? Because
No.
more like this. Sphere is the one they have highlighted.
No, I actually do not have the IMDb page even in front of me. Me and my fiance were actually talking to each other that it was kind of like a mixture of Sphere and Hellraiser put together. So
they've got Sphere, Hellraiser, The Abyss, Pitch Black, Pandorum, and I can't tell what that other one is, but but yeah, Sphere is based on a Michael Crichton book. So I've actually read the book and seen the film, and that's another one that didn't get a lot of love. I thought it was a perfectly decent film, but it was a better book.
Well, there were definitely some production issues with this film, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that they had problems with some of the actors. I think at the time they were getting sick at one point in time, and I think they ultimately cut it extremely because evidently Titanic was pushed back even further to like January of the following year. And so they were rushing Paul Anderson to get this film done. And
this got cut a lot, mainly not just because of the schedule. It got cut a lot because of the rating. Paul Anderson and Paul W. You know what we're gonna call him. Because right now I'm listening to Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker for my YouTube channel, and that I feel Event Horizon definitely took a lot from Hellraiser, and it's like, Paul Anderson, he thought he was Clive fucking Barker, right? I'm sorry, I'm cursing, but he thought he was Clive Barker, and he wanted some rather graphic and extreme things in the original cut, and they filmed it, and that was one of the reasons it got cut the way it did, is because he was like, you know what, gore, fuck it, let's do this shit. Oh, anal rape, let's do that shit. Oh, well, sorry, trigger warning, ripping limbs off, let's do that shit. It's like, oh, Hellraiser was not extreme enough? Bitch, I'm gonna do it even better. And then he somehow forgot, because I'm misremembering, but I feel like this came out either after or around the same time that Showgirls came out. In the area that my husband Brandon, and then of course also Jacob, the area that we live in, they made a huge ass deal at the time about Showgirls.
Oh yeah, they did.
Rating an NC-17, and so of course the dreaded NC-17 rating. They didn't want that for Event Horizon, so they cut a lot of shit out.
Yeah,
get the R rating.
Normally directors have a standard of 10-week editing period to produce the first film. And that's guaranteed by the Directors Guild of America. But due to the short production schedule of the film, and apparently the release date was rapidly coming closer, I mean, even the principal photography had not yet finished before the film was released. And he was given a period of 6 weeks to do this and deliver the film by August of 1997. And this was for Paramount. And they wanted a hit film before Titanic in January. So it was just... he still had to shoot 2 weeks of the second unit before, post-production. But they basically took the rough cut of the film, and he had to cut a extreme amount. And then, of course, after the initial release of the DVD, evidently it became a surprise hit on home video. They tried to assemble a director's cut, and they realized that they lost a lot of the footage. But going over to Brandon and your first...
I'm gonna be honest. Like, I was one of those people that, because the movie came out when I was still in high school, I'm obviously like older now, and for years we've been talking about this director cut. Anyone who's a true cinephile of certain films, they know that the director cut, the cut that did not make it to theaters, that is a cut that is the creme de la creme. And for years, over 20 years at this point, we've been hearing about there's a director's cut of Event Horizon that was more extreme. And back when IMDb was a bigger thing than it is fucking now, IMDb message boards and shit like that. We've been hearing about this director's cut that at this point now, here we are over 20 years later, it ain't fucking happening, because in the days before DVD, they fucked up. with the archiving. And to this day, I'm still trying to fucking wonder how did they end up with some fucking footage found in a salt mine and Transylvania? How did that shit happen? Like,
Well,
what?
one of
Who-
the
fucking,
things.
like, kidnapped the footage and said, "You want your shit? I want my paycheck. I'm gonna go to a salt mine in fucking Romania or Transylvania. You won't find me here, nigga." Who did that? Like, what the fuck? I was like, that does not make sense. This is some goddamn. This is not a film that was made 100 years ago. This is a film made in my lifetime. Not just my lifetime, but in my lifetime when I was self-aware. And I was like, how did this shit happen? And you're telling me this shit is so fucked up you cannot crack together a reasonable cut from that? Apparently
Well,
not.
That was what a lot of the excitement about the Shout Factory Blu-ray was about. I think they might have actually found at least some of that footage.
Might be.
Paul Anderson has said that because of the fact that the footage they did find over the last few years, because it was so degraded, it was badly. This really hurts my heart as a fan of this film. It was so badly archived. It was so terrible. They can't craft together a quote unquote director's cut from all the footage. So that will never happen, unfortunately, because
Well,
the studio never archived the footage properly, and then for some reason it has gone to the four corners of the fucking world. Nowadays, obviously, there's better archiving, but it wasn't.
well,
apparently.
they were able to get off. They were able to get a. They were able to get an HD transfer off of a rotted videotape for Friday the 13th too, like a VHS tape. They had to like take it apart and bake the film.
Mm-hmm.
And so, well, I'm saying there's a chance, because if they were able to, after they were able to do that, maybe they were like, well, let's take a real crack at it.
I'd be willing to check out what they have for Shout, but I'm not holding any candle to that. But let's go over to Brandon and get his first. Was this a first time watch for you,
Dave? Just 1 second. Brandon, baby, check goddamn DMs. I'm then texting you.
Oh, well, let me check real quick here.
So while he's doing that, director chose not to direct Mortal Kombat Annihilation in order to work on this film. He chose wisely.
Agreed.
But apparently, and this I want to say before we get Brandon's. Evidently, the scenes that were missing that are apparently there's more backstory for Cooper and Justin, including a stronger explanation for Justin entering the black hole. A deleted backstory of the relationship between Stark and Miller, additional scenes explaining what the gateway to hell or black hole is, and Miller finding a tooth floating in Event Horizon, a longer version of the scene in which Peter hallucinates that her son's mangled legs are covered in maggots, a scene in which Weir hallucinates that Justin turns into his wife Claire, and a bloodier version of Weir's wife Claire's suicide, a longer version of the scene where Miller finds DJ's dead body with his guts on the table, and a longer version of the visions from hell scene during Miller's final fight with Weir, with more shots of Event Horizon crew being tortured. So those are the things. Some of the things are missing.
I feel like with Event Horizon, like I will say this, there are only a handful of movies that I will say that feel like an acid trip gone wrong. Event Horizon is one of those films. The other film is Gothic. And I hope to God at some point that we can talk about that with Movies Galore or my YouTube channel or whatever. But Event Horizon definitely feels like I took some bad drugs and
Gothic, the Mary Shelley thing.
yes.
Yeah,
Oh
that
my
movie's
God,
pretty.
Dustin.
That movie's pretty cool.
Oh my God, you know that movie?
Yeah, I have that movie. It's on
Holy
Vestron Video.
fucking
It's on
oh my
Vestron
God,
Video.
Dustin. We'll talk about this like later on this weekend, okay?
Okay.
Because I got no one else see this fucking movie but me. But okay,
Well,
I'm
it came
excited.
out on. It came out on the Vestron Video series, so people know about it.
Well, I'm aware of that, but I'm old and you're like little and young. I'm just didn't know that people knew that fucking movie because no one that I fucking know knew that fucking movie.
I'm not
Anyways, but I feel like that Event Horizon is an acid trip gone bad because it starts off with they're this kind of sort of military group like, oh, we're gonna go in and save this, we're gonna go in there, be all badasses.
They're not really happy about going to begin with because they were pulled
Oh
off
no.
shit that they were doing to begin with just to do this detail.
Well, speaking from a military background, I'm not military, but my whole family fucking was almost, except for my oldest brother. When you're on leave, and you're promised that leave, and then it's like, oh, PT Dubs, yeah, I know you've only been on leave for 5 minutes. I'm gonna pull you away. We have an emergency, rescue. And from anyone who knows anything about space, we're sending you not just out into space, but to Neptune. And they're like, oh. So not only is my break interrupted, you're going to put me into some shit that's really far out. And if we, have a problem, we're fucked. Yeah. Well, we're going to up your pay. Well, fuck my pay. So so I understand, already that the crew is like, you know what, we don't want to really fucking be here. And so when, Sam Neill's character says, well, the distress signal we got was from the Event Horizon. If you read the title cards at the beginning of the movie, Event Horizon disappeared almost a decade previously. And so that's why the crew is like, that's bullshit.
They reacted pretty harshly to it.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course, the one black dude's like, Skipper, you pull me off and leave for this shit?
Right.
I love him, by the way.
Well, let's get Brandon's opinion here. What was your first response to this movie, or was this a first time watch for you?
No, it wasn't a first time watch by any means. It was what do they call it? Kim, actually, I've been going out with her for a while, and I always gravitate to movies where we have, for anybody that I talk with, I look at what they like. I try and get into that, try and, of course, expose them to what I like. And she was talking about Event Horizon, and I picked up a copy from Movie Stop. May they rest in peace. And decided I'd go ahead and watch it. I'd seen Hellraiser at the time, and I had, it couldn't be worse than that. And to me, it really wasn't as bad as Hellraiser. Still, I still hold to that. But I did enjoy what I had seen. Apparently, it didn't hold with me as long as it should have. But I had seen it a couple of times because I've watched it occasionally with her throughout the years. But I think it was probably I think it was the first year we were dating, because I think you'd show me that. You'd show me Gothic and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Those were three that I remember particularly from that first year we were that we were going out.
Are you talking about the one with Robert De Niro,
Robert De Niro.
and Chris Brown.
Yeah. Because I remember you recommending that hard.
Really?
Yeah. Believe it or not.
Okay. I don't remember that shit. It's been like a decade, but okay.
Well, you
I wasn't a big fan of that one.
Okay,
don't-
Dustin. No, you can never stay at our house if you're a visit Virginia. I love that movie.
so,
There was one scene that like bothered me like extra hard.
Okay, so quick, which scene was it?
Where the mob like hangs the girl.
Oh, Justine.
Okay.
Yeah, that was too much for me.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
That
I
was
guess so.
that was pretty harsh for that kind of a sentiment, but it was showing
That was pretty fucked up. But okay.
it was showing the mentality of what people would do around that time, and that is the reality of how small townsfolk would have reacted in that time period. I mean, people were paranoid. I mean, that was Salem witch trials time, you know. So
Well, they're just some
Yeah.
things that like if it happens in a movie, I'm just like no.
Yeah, there are some things.
in any case, so we have this plot where this crew has been sent after this ship that has disappeared, and they
The
go
Event Horizon
on
mysteriously
basis-
reappears.
They go
after
on
many
the
years.
basis of a recording that apparently, when you listen to it, you hear the benevolent screams of what appears to be a woman, and then under all that, they apparently get some Latin that apparently, which is why I kind of like the guy that translates. it all.
Jason Isaacs.
The Doctor.
Yeah,
Um,
because Latin is a super exotic fucking language. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
so-
it's how they're acting. They're like, I remember like watching it because Lawrence Fishburne's like, "Liberate tutame," and I'm like, why is he saying Latin with an accent?
Right.
Because again, we were all in high school. Some of us were in high school. I'm like, you don't need to say Latin with an accent, boo boo. That's French and Spanish that we're all learning in high school. Why are you saying with an accent? Okay, do you, boo boo? But
Yeah.
and then of course I had some of my friends who actually did take Latin. They were like,
well,
"Oh, well, actually."
and remember, this movie is pre-Matrix with Lawrence Fishburne, so
I'm aware of that, but still.
And it was also like the Doctor. I could not see, like when I see Jason Isaacs, I cannot not think of Lucius Malfoy, and also Hook. Some of his later roles, and it was really interesting seeing him play just one of the nice guys, one of the good characters.
Well, and it's interesting because Jason Isaacs, doesn't he play in one of the Alien movies later on?
Maybe.
I can't remember.
I thought that he might have played in one of Alien. Maybe not.
He doesn't have any alien credentials.
Okay. Then I'm thinking of a totally different dude that kind of looks like him. I kind of remembered the last alien that came out. He was like a android or whatnot, and he just kind of looked like him. But anyway,
wasn't that you're talking about like the more like the Prometheus and whatever, like those?
That was.
You talking about the Michael Fassbender?
Alien Covenant with Michael Fassbender.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that was not Jason Isaacs, though.
No.
I feel like he has done a role like that, though. I can't remember.
But in any case, as the film progresses and as the plot thickens, they have sent a couple of their team onto. They actually, I just want to mention this. They are put each other in hyperspace, and then the doctor, he gets a dream, and he wakes up from the dream, and then he wakes up from it again, and suddenly, like, he's on the floor, and everybody is awake. And
It's
shortly
nightmare within a nightmare within a nightmare. We've all
correct,
had that.
correct, an inception conundrum, kind of, and then shortly after that,
Out of
they
curiosity,
end up running into Event Horizon, the ship. It's like suddenly there, you know, and it's right there, you know. So, but they send a part of their crew over to investigate. One of them being the young Justin. What do people think of Justin?
actually, I was gonna say with the sleep thing, real quick. Did anybody get like again? I may be an old cinephile, I guess you could say, but did anybody actually get like Planet of the Apes vibes, like the original Planet of the Apes, when they went into the cryo sleep? That kind of thing. I always thought when they did that nightmare thing, where he would wake up and find one of his crew members died because the thing died. The thing they screwed up.
Is so
Let me repeat it again, baby. No.
I think you're alone on that, man.
I was kind of getting a Lost in Space remake kind of a vibe here with that hyperspace reawakening,
Right.
and realizing that there's something wrong, you know, or something like that. But that's neither here nor now. I think basically Lawrence Fishburne's character, he's kind of like the leader of this crew. He goes over to the other ship. So does Justin, and I think the other black crew member ends up going over to investigate.
Why he got to be black? Why he got to be black?
Actually, this factors back to our previous discussion on Resident Horror, where you have the black character who's not the lead character. And you have the guy, you asked our impressions of Justin. Justin could have been Johnny Redshirt. He really was Johnny Redshirt. I mean, that really is his only role in the movie, is to be the poor kid that bites it first. Well, and he doesn't really bite it, but he almost does.
According to some of the deleted scenes or cut scenes, supposedly we got more to his backstory. So I feel like we are not seeing we're like seeing half a movie here, you know. Where
I thought it hung together tolerably well.
It did. Like, I was muted. I did not realize this shit. I was saying, like, they even called him Baby Bear. Like, at that time, the horror, I hate to say it, they had to have certain things. For strong male character, which was Lawrence Fishburne. You had your kind of like nerdy guy, which is Sam Neill. You had your hot, semi-hot female character, which was Julie Richardson.
Right.
You had your comic relief, which was the very buff, fine-ass motherfucking black woman. And then you had your
Richard T. Jones.
Yes, I couldn't remember his name because I hate him in the Medea movie. He's in the Medea movie. I fucking hate him. He's an asshole in that Medea movie. Anyways. Then you had your young / quote unquote inexperienced character, which I highly doubt that the Justin character, if he was fitting to the stereotype, that he would not be on that team. There's no fucking way, given Lawrence Fishburne's character, for what we know about him, that he would have some inexperienced rookie on his team. So Justin clearly has skill. He's belongs there, but
he is the youngest member.
Clear, they call him Baby Bear.
Yep.
And I love how the actor's name is Jack Noseworthy. Yes. And apparently one of his more illustrious film credits was Barbed Wire.
But in any case, we have Justin who.
Well, I guess we could continue on with Kim's talk of the stereotypes. Jason Isaacs is the him and Kathleen Quinlan are the medical professionals, but they're kind of the straight.
Yeah.
They're kind of the straight man to all the other stuff. And then Sean Pertwee is the brash, militaristic, loudmouth.
But he just happens to be English.
There's really no control to his language when he wants to pretty much. He's kind of
no filter.
He's kind of no.
Boss, it's got women.
I almost think him almost in a way when I was thinking of him.
What's that?
I almost thought of a Jason Statham-like character.
Yeah, a little bit.
I think that's kind of what Jason Statham has been going for 20 years.
I also remember him from a BBC thing that maybe might have had 2 seasons called Demons. That ran a couple of seasons on the BBC.
I know what you're talking about, actually.
Yeah, I remember him from that before Gotham, and he played an interesting character there too. But he played a sidekick character. I think he also played one of the characters in the new Sherlock Holmes as well. The one,
he played
the detective
that they work with.
Yes,
he was on
on the show Sherlock.
Not Elementary, but he was on
Sherlock.
Yeah,
no,
Elementary. It was on Elementary.
Yeah.
Yes, Elementary.
Shit, I'm sorry, I confused Elementary with the actual Sherlock show because they happen at the same time. They kind of are the same fucking thing. But he plays the British detective who was using Sherlock to further his career.
Yep.
Yes, fucking yes. I couldn't remember. I'm like, what is the name of the detective? It's been so long.
One thing that has me curious is apparently the debut film from this director is a bit of British down and dirty ultraviolence called Shopping.
Yep.
That stars Pertwee and Jude Law. I may have to see that eventually. I don't know.
Oh, fucking
I know I have it around here somewhere. I just haven't watched it.
I was like, I even know I have this around here somewhere. It's like it's hanging around somewhere.
Well, it's like I picked up many of these films that some of these directors have directed, and I haven't even watched some of them. It's just collecting dust, waiting to be watched. So
okay, so Dave, that's like the time that I got drunk on New Year's, and I told Brandon and Jacob and some friends where I was like, I don't know how we were talking about porn, and I was like, yeah, I have the uncut version of Caligula. It's downstairs somewhere in the movie room. And everyone's like, wait, what? And I was like, oh, you never heard about Caligula? And then I went on a drunken tangent about that shit.
All right.
So we have Justin.
Back to Event Horizon.
Event Horizon, and he has gotten himself into what they call the center or nucleus, or the center of the ship, and there's this sphere within this half sphere.
Within this very menacing hallway.
Yeah, and it's a circular room. It's got spikes that come out around. You remember
one of the characters makes a comment that it looks like a meat grinder.
Yeah,
I just said that.
Okay. Every single carnival that I know, street carnival that brings rides to their carnival, has this spaceship that you go in, and you lie yourself against the wall, and the thing spins, and you go up in the air, and that's what it kind of reminded me of.
I had a panic attack when I was a kid.
I think I know what you're talking about, because what you described sounds a lot like a ride they had at King's Dominion that I loved. But there's actually also that optical illusion tunnel that I know we saw that at the Ripley's Museum in Myrtle Beach. And they do a similar thing when they do the Berry Farm Halloween things, which I guess we won't be doing this year, unfortunately. But yeah, those things, I know. I've walked those tunnels, and they said in the trivia that Lawrence Fishburne couldn't make the walk without getting woozy. I believe it, because you just those things mess with you.
I mean, anything that's atmospheric enough. I mean, ask Brandon when we went to Myrtle Beach and we did the whole God, what the fuck was it? It was a Ripley's Believe It or Not. They had a zombie apocalypse haunted walkthrough thing. We got about 5 minutes. We got 5 minutes in, and I was like, "Nope, I'm black, and fuck this shit. I know better." And then I saw a post sign that said exit. I went barreling to the fucking exit. Some like staff there is like holding me, and meanwhile my fucking husband is like, "Babe, come back through." I'm like, "I don't trust you." This black man's holding me. He's just like, "It's okay," and I'm like, "I can't do it. I can't do it."
Well, at this point, I wonder if Paul Anderson had taken this strictly from the second half of Alice in Wonderland, Through the Looking Glass, where you kind of get this moment where this machine turns on and there's this black hole in the middle of that sphere. And he walks up to it, puts his hand through, and he's literally grabbed from whatever is on the other side, and whatever that did, it tugged on him, and the metal line that he was connected to basically ruptured the hull of the ship that they had come in on. All kinds of sparks flew and shit like that.
This weird shockwave comes from the hole, and it tears up their ship and causes a lot of random damage. And they're pretty lucky that they're able to pull Justin out of that thing too. Like, he comes out, he's like catatonic.
Well,
like he's alive, but he can't talk.
Well, and he doesn't exactly come back the same either. It's like whatever happened to him on the other side it has possessed him, in a sense. And pretty soon here we get to see this cast of characters start to go through some changes.
So real quick though, let's pause and say, lesson here for the kiddies at home. If you are in a room that looks like a meat grinder, and this thing they call the core suddenly comes to life, and you see this whirling blob of something and you don't know what it is, don't stick your hand in it.
It's just like you don't stick your hand in the cookie jar, It's one of those things.
Just like that.
But in any case, we
just
get
hope Justin got some really good cookies for his trouble.
And at some point in between all of this, they degravitize the whole ship, because in order to do whatever to get their ship back in order, they've got to come back onto Event Horizon to get it, and they start experiencing things that have happened in their past, like the one lady
having hallucinations.
Correct.
Because the ship as we come to find out, the ship itself has changed from its journey to the other dimension, and it's become kind of a living thing, so it can show you like what you're afraid of and like mess with you.
Which kind of reminds me of there was that trying to think of Farscape. Farscape had that ship that was the creature, and that was a living organism that they were in. And I mean, it's not as similar as this. This is more like a possessed ship from Dementia X.
So in a very real sense, you could say this is a haunted house movie in space.
In fact, that's kind of what Paul Anderson was trying to go for. Just I think it kind of launched into this space time continuum thing.
It got weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that I don't know if anyone's brought up, but they've mentioned a couple points early on that when they do like the bioscans and whatever, they get these weird readings where it's like the whole ship seems to react to the scan, and they really have no idea what that's on about. So,
And I think they also mentioned that there are some life forms that they can't exactly quite pinpoint down what they
well,
are.
that's what I'm talking about. It's not really life forms exactly.
They
They
get-
get the scans that
Mhm.
say there should be life where they are not really sure. Is there? Is that what? Yeah,
Yeah. Life readings.
right, exactly.
And,
Yeah. Hmm.
and one of the visions that seems to happen is to the electable doctor, the one who created the ship himself, which is apparently visions of his wife Claire, which apparently, I mean, we get like snippets of what he's beginning to see, but eventually we get to see kind of a moment where she actually supposedly killed herself.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently we on the whatever cut that we get a longer scene from that, but we get the shortened version where it looks like she slips herself in, cuts her arms, and we get kind of a ghostly haunting here out of room 236. So
Isn't actually that I'm going to sound really silly, but my brain is fried right now. That was a room from The Shining, right?
yeah.
Because supposedly the original draft of the screenplay was supposed to be, quote, The Shining in space. That was kind of the original thought that they had. But I did want to mention, getting back to the Kubrickian films, Dave, you had mentioned 2001 earlier. Isn't Sam Neill's first hallucination when he climbs into the tunnel in that room?
Correct.
Yeah. So,
that is-
did anyone else get a feeling like as he was going in there, just hearing, "Good morning, Dave"? You know, I was kind of thinking
that was Independence Day,
huh?
and that was Jeff Goldblum, not Sam Neill.
Do what? No. I was just talking about like that was a 2001 when he went in to fix the circuit board or whatever. He was talking to Hal the whole time, and so I just was thinking about how
the computer computer saying good morning, Dave.
right.
Yeah, I could have seen that. It's been some time since I've seen stuff, but
right.
The reason why I mentioned that is because not only do we get a sense of isolation here, we get a sense of these guys are out here and they're possibly lonely,
Mhm.
So and you kind of get that vibe from 2001 with the astronauts and all that jazz, but we continue forward here. I mean, the other one that seems to be fairly fleshed out as far as a vision or a hallucination is the one that we get of Lawrence Fishburne's character, where we have a moment between him and Jason Isaacs, and he's sitting down and he's telling him about this time during 0 hour, where one of the members that he was taking care of underneath his command, he had to leave behind, and they were on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And just him describing this, it was a very emotional scene and to hear from him. What do you guys? What did you guys think of that?
Well, I think that definitely plays to the character. I mean, let's be real here. We don't get a lot of backstory with a lot of the characters. We get more with Sam Neill's character. We get a lot more backstory with him. Obviously, he worked a lot, and that drove his wife to do what she did. But we don't get a whole lot of backstory with the other characters, But with Miller, he has a lot of guilt with his crewman that was under his command, and there was an accident, and he could have chosen to save his crewmen and risk everyone else's life, or sacrifice that one crewman to save everyone else. And he chose the latter. And that was something that very much weighed on his mind, on his spirit. And when you get to, spoiler alert, when you get to the end of the film, he decides, fuck it, I'm gonna sacrifice myself and save the other people that are still here, That's probably more character development than we could ever have gotten.
Most assuredly. And in the same moment, we get Jason Isaacs, who apparently has re-listened to the original audio recording and has found out that the words actually mean save yourself from hell. Yeah. What was the exact translation? Save yourself.
Save yourself, and then it was Liberate Me is what they thought of originally, and it was Liberate Tuta Me, and then save yourself, and then he listened to the rest of it, save yourself from hell.
Correct, and which is
Ex
a totally different.
Sorry, Ex Inferis.
Ex Infernum, I believe it was. Because if you think about it, you get this the Ocularis Infernum from 13 Ghosts. I figure it's kind of similar to that, but which meant the Eye of Hell in 13 Ghosts.
Right.
But we get an entirely different meaning to what the person was in fact saying. They weren't saying "Come save me," save me. They were saying, save yourself, get the fuck out of Dodge. Yeah. So what did you guys think when that was said?
I was like, yeah, damn right, you want to get out of there.
It's like Skyrim, you never should have come here.
Well, and it's at that point where I think that they've done whatever they can to the ship. They're starting to gather up supplies and bring it back to the ship. And then one of the females apparently also has a couple of visions, apparently of her son, which I was kind of getting a little Georgie in the Sewer kind of a vibe from it, kind of with him in the raincoat. But although it wasn't exactly yellow, he was running around anyways, doing all that. We all float down here kind of
shit
thing. So.
Never goes right when you start hallucinating children.
No, she definitely didn't float. She definitely fell. But
I mean, I always hate when you have these situations where you have the motherly, because they call her Mama Bear. You have the motherly figure, and she starts hallucinating children, and particularly her own children, or someone who's died that was close to them. I'm like, this is not gonna fucking end well.
Yeah,
we're gonna be upset about her death. She's gonna fucking die. I see it already. And I mean, that's one of the things that I hated about this movie, is that it was practically beating you over the head. Like, she's the maternal one. They call her Mama Bear. Oh, here, hint, hint. Wink, wink. And actually, Lawrence Fishburne's character Miller even makes a big deal about saying, "Oh, I'm sorry that I couldn't, extend your leave, but I'm sorry." She's like, "It's okay. My ex is gonna take him for Christmas." So you have a kid? Okay, I'm sure that will never be mentioned again, ever, in this whole fucking movie. But and he's mentioned many times again.
Yeah, and then of course after that, that is where we get the other guy who's gone back to the ship with the other supplies, and of course the other complimentary black character is outside, and when that thing explodes, he goes somersaulting through the air on this thing. I love that part where he's like, okay.
This shit always happened to me.
I love this part because he realizes that like he's tumbling through space and he's got to get back to the ship, and he's like okay, let's push the air thing, and then when he suddenly appears, he's like, I'm back, you motherfuckers.
Here I come, motherfucker.
Right.
Mhm.
He's like the comic
Jesus, that is so.
That was very goofy. It was almost kind of out of place, actually. I thought.
I felt like he was
I mean, I enjoyed it anyway, but
I felt like he was trying to be like an Eddie Murphy kind of a character. So
I feel like they try to
it's a
shoehorn
very
in,
Eddie Murphy moment.
they shoehorn comedic relief in a lot of these particular movies. And sometimes I don't think it's even needed. I really don't feel like the forced comic relief was needed. They could have done a better job making the character less of a stereotype and probably more of an active character with the crew.
true. But
Yep.
then of course we've also got the bomb situation where they realize that one of the bombs has been taken from the event horizon. He's looking around for the bomb, Smith, and the moment of realization when it's counting down from 5, 4, he's like, oh shit.
Okay, so let me just like preface this. Like when Brandon and I were rewatching this again the other night, I was like, I see a button that says fucking disable. Why are you crying like a bitch? Hit the button, motherfucker. I was like, that's disable, clearly. And he's just like, I'm like,
Hey,
no.
Kim, you
What?
should know from your job that people don't read.
Oh, no. But this is not some order. This guy can fucking rebuild a goddamn spaceship in space, in deep space. And he's just sitting there looking at a bomb that still had like 6 seconds left. And he's like, you had time to draw tears. Clearly, you had time to see that button and say disable. Because I know we did. That said,
Yep.
babe. I was like, babe. And I'm like waking Brandon up because he was like half asleep. I'm like, I never noticed that before. He's like, huh? I said, pause this shit. Rewind. He's like, huh? It says disabled. Huh? He couldn't disable the goddamn bomb. And he's like, oh, okay. And
Clearly, it was a gripping movie.
I was pissed. I was so mad.
But anyway, ways after that, we well, actually, I just want to go backwards. There is the moment where we get the Justin character, who evidently he's pushed the outdoor door button while under the influence of this whatever has possessed him, and then he's got that one moment of clarity where he's like, "Please open the door."
Like, what am I doing here? So he's going to kill himself by basically jumping out the airlock, and he presses the button to open the airlock, and then he kind of snaps out of it. So he's like, what am I doing here? Guys, help! And it's a pretty effective scene.
It's effective, but it's almost pointless because you're like yelling at them like, bring him back in. You know he's gonna die. He's out there in the atmosphere of space, and you know that without a spacesuit, his skin is gonna like eventually deteriorate. It's gonna malfunction. He's obviously, even if you try to save him, he's going to die.
I feel like this movie was kind of like the precursor to What's that freaking movie with George Clooney and Sandra Bullock?
Gravity.
Gravity.
Yes, and people are like, oh, well, if you were to actually get launched into space, this would happen eventually. And it's like, this movie is a precursor of that. I remember that scene, like, no, but I saw Superman 2 or whatever, and Lois Lane, she was okay, and then you see his veins start to, like, bulge, and like, oh, he is not okay. Oh,
Okay.
this shit is real. And then, like, I remember doing some little research on it, and I'm like, oh, okay, so space is like my nightmares.
More like Apollo 18 than anything else.
Oh, that horror movie? Yeah, I forgot about that movie. Ooh.
Did anyone actually think Total Recall, where they would have those scenes where they're
Yeah,
bugging out?
I didn't
and,
care
They
for
go
that
out
scene.
into Mars atmosphere and just explode.
Right.
Exactly.
Wasn't crazy about that.
Don't forget Corpsicle.
Oh yeah, that was a cool moment.
Yep.
There's a frozen body of one of the former crew members aboard the Event Horizon, and it just
feel
kind
like
of
that may
drifts
have actually
into
been
one of the
the
characters.
captain.
Yeah, I believe so. And you get a couple of moments where you get some of these characters who, like Justin and Sam Neill's character, their eyes have been basically been taken from them.
Yeah, I didn't care for that either.
Oh, that looked great.
What
Where
did you
you're
guys?
going, you don't see.
But in any case, we after that moment where the bomb has gone off and stuff, we get the sense that the ship won't let them leave, and so the character of Lawrence Fishburne ends up being like, you know what? Fine, fuck this shit. I'm gonna go turn on all the bombs, and then we're gonna get and then we're gonna hide in these little cryospace shits, and we're gonna wait for help. So he goes, arms the whole shit, and then he gets haunted by his hallucinatory thing, which turns into the Sam Neill character. And what do we think about that ending?
Actually, he got possessed after, because remember, like, Lawrence Fishburne and all of them, the crew, they see what happened to Event Horizon's crew, and he was like, "Fuck this shit," and he's like, "No, he's like, "We're gonna, like, go to a safe distance and launch TAC missiles at Event Horizon." And I would never forget, he said, "Fuck this shit." I was like, that's a black man right there for you, because that's exactly what I would have said, like, fuck this shit. And after that, that was when, Miller was like, no, not Miller. God damn. Oh, what was the goddamn character's name? Weir. He was like, no, you can't do this. And he, goes running to whatever. He disappears. And then Kathleen Quinnen's character gets killed by the entity, the spirits, whatever. And then Weir finds her body, and he's just like, oh, no. And then he, of course, starts hallucinating his wife, his dead wife, and then he gets possessed, killed, whatever you're going to call it. And that's when plants the bomb on I'm about to say the Nebuchadnezzar.
Smith.
I forgot. That's Matrix. What was the name of the ship? The Lewis and Clark.
Horizon?
Yeah.
Oh, Lewis and Clark.
Lewis and Clark, the other ship, the rescue ship.
Yeah.
Again, I'm sorry, I confused it with Matrix. That's why I said Nebuchadnezzar. But he plants a bomb that kills off English guy, the black guy hurling, and then we get up to date with the other ship. But here's the but part. I think that I remember asking myself, like, why is it that Sam Neill's character, he is more, I don't know the word here for it, sensitive sort of to the possession of Event Horizon. And it's like, oh, well, because he invented the ship, well, he created it. I'm like, he's kind of the only one that we get a backstory for besides Miller.
Well, he's got nothing else to care for. His wife killed herself, so the only
She
thing
killed
he has,
herself, if you want to believe it, she killed herself because of his work, because he was away so much.
she could have had her own problems too. So, but that being said, I mean, to me, you kind of have to be kind of fucked up if you didn't realize the shit was going to happen. And there could have been some signs. I don't know. We didn't get too much backstory into the reasons why she killed herself all too often. You know?
There are probably some things that were missing. Like I said earlier, there were a lot of things that didn't make it into the movie that could have, and probably could have answered some questions that were there. Still, I think that it was an interesting plot line in general. I mean, looking at the various losses, everybody had the inside, which was one of the things that Dustin pointed out, was that was what it did. It brought out the darkness, and I thought that was great, using that against the person.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously, he wanted to see his wife more often, and we got that moment where she was like, "Now you're with me," you know. And it was at that moment that I think he just kind of snapped and was like, well, fuck it, I'll just roll with the program, you know. So I really like the special effects, the makeup that they did for him, when it came down to showing the darkness inside of him.
The little marks inside and stuff like that, went on the skin, like the tattoos or whatnot.
Yeah, and the fact that it made it look like they shaved his head.
They were copying Hellraiser, definitely, with that one.
Yeah, I was definitely getting hit.
Yeah, he really looked like a Cenobite at the end of the movie.
Definitely.
So, that being said, after Lawrence Fishburne grabs the button, the ship, the tunnel to the ship explodes.
Lawrence Fishburne's plan is to separate the ship, is to break the ship in half, so that the part with the dimensional gateway just goes off on its own, and then his crew can escape in the upper half of the ship, which has like the life support stuff.
Let me pause. Can we just talk about Jason Isaacs and his very fucking gnarly ass death scene? Please. That was gnarly. Because there was some debate, I don't know, over the weekend, there was some debate between what's more gory, this or Hellraiser. And I was like, let me think about that for a second. I'm like, no. And I thought about, like, fuck yeah, this is more gory. Come on, guys. This is fucking gory as hell.
Yeah, that was a messed up scene.
I would have to say that some of the deaths here are definitely more gory than the original Hellraiser itself. I mean,
as Jacob said, the flash cuts, to me, it's what makes this less gory than Hellraiser. And I say that because Hellraiser extends the gore. You're sitting there looking at that scene where the guy is flayed for, minutes at a time, whereas movie you're looking at it for seconds at a time. So to me, I would say Hellraiser is actually more gory in a lot of aspects. Yes, it doesn't go to the extremes, but it tends to linger on it a lot longer.
Had they apparently gotten what apparently the director wanted, then oh yeah, this will be the. I probably wouldn't have watched the movie in that case.
Well, Paul Anderson definitely wanted that gory R-rated movie, but the studio execs at Paramount didn't want that per se. So I think a lot of the X-rated parts got cut, and we got a bird's eye view of what the movie could have been. And unfortunately, when they went back and tried to do all of that, we don't know for sure yet because none of us have the Shout Factory copy. But that being said, I feel like at the end of the movie, with all things being said, I feel like we're only getting half of the movie. To me, like it. I like the storyline. I enjoy the characters. I enjoyed the special effects of the film. I do believe that it's its own story, even though at first it could have been a Hellraiser ripoff at the time to people that loved Hellraiser. I mean, diehard Hellraiser fans were definitely saying this was a total ripoff at the time. So, but I'm getting the vibe that you, Kim, did not get that much of a hate towards this film as some Hellraiser film lovers.
Well, I didn't hate it, but it definitely gives you the Hellraiser vibes. But I did not hate it the way that some Hellraiser fans did, because obviously it has different ideas about it. With Hellraiser, it's the whole idea of you're looking for this forbidden knowledge, this forbidden fruit, which is the Le Marchand box. And the whole idea with Event Horizon is that you're playing God. You're toying with things that you probably should. What was that?
Probably Spirit. He's getting kind of noisy.
I'm about to say that was a child. Like, who's got a kid locked up somewhere? Well, Event Horizon, it's the whole idea of experimenting, so to speak, with things that you probably shouldn't. Which you can see the similarities between that and Hellraiser. But again, it's the playing God aspect of it. With Dr. Weir playing Frankenstein.
Like Dr. Weir was hiding behind what he actually created to begin with, because when he was talking to Lawrence Fishburne and he was asking him about what his ship did or whatnot, he's clearly asking him what the fuck happened, and it seems like he kind of knows what happened. When you create something, you obviously have a theory about what you're creating it for.
I have a feeling with Dr. Weir, he had a theory, but he didn't really know. And also with Dr. Weir, because even though he created Event Horizon, it was sort of the idea that he had never seen it in action. So he didn't really, he's like, yeah, I built it. But remember when they first get to the ship and they first see the ship and he's in awe of it. I'm like, has this dude never seen the actual ship? Did he draw up the architectural designs and the everything, and then he never actually saw it being built in space, a la Star Trek? What the fuck?
Did anybody appreciate how the ship was built like some kind of temple that you'd see in Alien versus Predator?
Oh,
yeah, it was definitely something to behold. I mean, it definitely had
a lot of character.
Yeah,
it did. I mean, it was very ominous, definitely.
Well, since you said that, then I could definitely believe that maybe he was just the architect and the designer who did do.
Well, he was the inventor of the core that allowed his folded line points in space, dimensional travel to work.
Yeah. But was he in fact the ship's designer itself?
Apparently, he was.
So if he did design all of these like in his mind, and then never saw the building of this thing, and just knew that it was a covert operation where the crew just went out and just to man this ship out somewhere. And to me, where they found it was kind of like a Bermuda Triangle in space, you know. But at least that's what I was thinking. I was thinking like Bermuda Triangle in space, because when they first came across it, it was in like some kind of fog, like, and all of a sudden you saw the ship like appear behind the fog in space, you know. So I don't know. Let's get to the production value of this film. What did we touch on?
Aside from some pretty crummy early CGI, the production value on this was pretty high.
Actually, one thing I wanted to say, and I don't want to put you on the spot necessarily for us, but I know you had said the production value didn't quite hold up for you, so I was just curious as to your opinions on it.
Well, it was like you were saying, the CGI. It was a CGI. Like some of the CGI is definitely very much a product of like the late night. It definitely shows. I feel like the CGI has definitely showed its age. That was more my what I noticed. But otherwise it does. Otherwise, a lot of the special effects do still look very good. It's that it's the CG. Just me, the CGI was really my issue.
I got a kick out of some.
Of course, there was its infancy at the time.
I got a kick out of some of the things that, as they started to show some of the ship, like some of the things that were floating around during while there was zero gravity on the ship. Like there was a watch. There were a couple of things I saw floating there. I mean, even the bubbles of water, or the bubbles of blood, or whatever you want to call it. Some of the things that were floating around it was interesting to see. I don't know. To me, it was fascinating. Maybe I'm speaking from a point where I just recently rewatched Star Trek Generations, and you see the floating wine bottle in space. So, but
I did not mind the specs. I thought that some of them, yes, they were slightly dated, but it didn't bother me a lot. I mean, the eyeless effects, the things that they showed, especially when you saw the now the one that did have me pretty cool and awe was the ship. I love the design of the ship. The set design was awesome. It was really cool to watch. Very gothic. I think that as far as full-on design goes, they did an excellent job. That gravity drive, again, very creepy. The room was well designed. Those panel rooms where everything was added up, lit up in that kind of greenish blue hue. Also very creepy. I just thought they did such an excellent job with it.
I think so too. And I think that it speaks for itself as far as designs go. What about special effects? Anyone?
Well, the effects in this were pretty great. I mean, like the gore was really convincing and pretty nasty. Like we said a moment ago, aside from some dated CGI, everything, at least to me, holds up pretty well.
Okay. What about you, Forrest? The special effects of the film?
I mean, apart from the dated CG, I thought the special effects looked great. The ships, the set design. Definitely the meat grinder. I guess for me, the really stand out was probably the makeup work, especially for like as you can see in my avatar, Sam Neill, like the makeup work they did on Sam Neill, I thought was very impressive. Makeup effects work on Sam Neill was impressive. A very, I'm sorry.
I said, oh yeah, I agree. I agree with Sam.
It was very disturbing.
Well, especially since he was evidently changing from nightmare to nightmare. I mean, he went from Lawrence Fishburne's character that he was being haunted by to Sam Neill in an instant, and I think they did very well on that particular scene for the special effects there. So, and I think they did pretty well for the character of Claire with her red eyes, just to make her have a creepy effect, you know. So, what do you think, Jake? Did you think the special effects were pretty decent? Jake?
Yeah.
Sorry, I still had the mute on. Sorry. Like I said, they were good. I didn't really have any strong feelings one way or the other. Y'all have pretty much covered it.
Yeah, I think we got. I think we got it fixed down.
Uber Eats guy at the door. Sorry.
What were you talking about? The door, Kim?
I was meeting the Uber Eats guy at the door. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I think we should move on to music.
Yeah.
Like this had a score that to me didn't. To me, the score didn't stand out so much in this, because it complemented everything that was going on a little too well.
Mm-hmm.
So when the score was on, I was paying attention to the movie, not the score. So it was one of those ones where it blends into the action.
It's kind of surprising for Michael Kamen because I feel like his scores definitely. I mean, at least the scores for movies like Lethal Weapon, Die Hard, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. His scores are always definitely one thing that have always stood out to me. So that was a bit of a surprise.
And it looks like it also mentions this orbital thing along with Michael Kamen, which apparently they did stuff for The Saint and Johnny Mnemonic and Mortal Kombat and the
X-Men.
Beach. Yeah. And Triple X and Hackers.
It does have one hell of a main theme, like that.
It definitely got a Hackers feel. It's goddamn soundtrack.
I want to get the soundtrack.
But I mean, it flows with the movie, and I wasn't really looking at the music so much as watching a film. So next time when I have a future watch, I'll have to try to pay attention to the music to see how I feel on that. But I think that's about it, unless anyone else has anything else to add.
Nothing pressing.
No, nothing.
All righty. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having this discussion with me. So why don't we go around and explain who we are? Because after being in that other dimension, we have forgotten who we are. So let's go with you, Dustin. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, I'm a horror collector living here in Milwaukee while I go to school. I collect horror movies and anything else related to horror on my YouTube channel, The Crypt of Horrors. I also have an Instagram, The Crypt of Horrors, and you can interact with me on Twitter at Cryptaxis, which I'm going to be changing my name to on my channels at some point. As for Event Horizon, this was definitely worth seeing, and I'm kind of surprised I put it off for so long. So I wish I could say I had a favorite scene, but I just enjoyed the whole thing about the same level. There wasn't anything that really stuck out to me. So, yeah. Next.
Well, let's go with you, Kim. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name's Kim. I am Septum Sin, otherwise known as Brandon's wife. I have my own YouTube channel, and actually, I'm hoping if I can, schedule myself properly with work and other stuff going on, to have my next video on my YouTube channel uploaded by Monday. My YouTube channel is called Kim Creates Stuff. It's a mixture of many different things, my hobbies and stuff. But my video that I have coming up on Monday will be because I'm the only woman here, a video of me discussing the Clive Barker Hellbound Heart novella, which is, of course, the book that Hellraiser is based off of, while I'm putting on my makeup. So a little bit of something for the guys and the girls, and everyone in between. So I'm hoping to have all that done by Monday and have it uploaded. So we'll see. And for the month of October, fingers crossed, every week I will have a horror-themed book that I'll be discussing while putting on my makeup. So we will see.
Very cool.
Okay.
Going over to you, Forrest. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
All right, I'm Forrest. I'm based in Long Island, New York. Producer on upcoming indie horror films such as Camp Murder and Strix. I also recently appeared in a music video for Trauma, which it was the title theme song for Trauma's Shakespeare Shitstorm, which I'm hoping to share. I'm hoping to share looking forward to sharing the video with you guys when it's completed.
Very cool. And why don't we go over to you, Brandon? And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, of course, I'm Septum Sen, the Septum Sen versus the world, and I appreciate Kim being on with us tonight, especially. But I, of course, have a channel that is devoted to physical media and the love of physical media. We've been kind of cycling through various things and ideas as we've been in flux since a flood hit our home and kind of disrupted things. But eventually, things will be back to normal. Of course, we're doing new release videos and pickup videos most weeks. And I have collection tours with something called Rate My Collection, which I'm using tier the tier marketing software is to rate my stuff, which is kind of cool. And also, I am doing a couple of gameplay through stuff, which is kind of cool. We did a couple of Outer Worlds playthrough parts. We'll get back to after the season, but we're doing a holiday playthrough the eating Halloween game, which I'm trying to think of the name of, but I'm lost about that. But every Friday we are going to be doing a different part of that, so that's going to be kind of fun. Also, I work with Inside Movies Galore, and we work on trying to discuss various films, and my hope is to help organize our lineup, which we have an exciting lineup planned, but we have a theme for November, which is martial arts mayhem. It was close. We had Noir November and Movies We're Thankful For came close, but the people had wanted martial arts apparently. So November is going to be all about that martial arts stuff. If you are one of our voting sites, which you should join if you have the time, either movie collectors, talk movies with us, Moe's Tavern, or Anime Collectors Inc. All of those are excellent sites. They've all been great with voting, and we're going to have posts up for suggestions. So you can suggest your movies to possibly be on here. But thanks to those suggestions, we have our lineup for next week, and that's going to be our pre-show, which is the movie American Psycho, and our main show, which is going to be Vampire Hunter D, the 1980s anime classic. So very fun stuff to look forward to here. So I hope you would join us next week.
Definitely. How about you, Jake? Tell us who you are.
All right, well, I'm Kotobuki Jake. I'm co-host of Septum Sim vs. the World, and of course, also movie collector, fan, what have you. Spend a lot of time on this channel as well, and Delusions of Grandeur as well, and we've got some good stuff coming up. I guess martial arts thing may give me a reason to crack open that Bruce Lee set, so that might be good. But yeah, that's all I have tonight. Oh.
Alrighty. And my name is David Strachey. I'm one of the founding fathers of Inside Movies Galore. So thank you for coming along with our journey through film. It has been exciting and pleasurable to share these discussions with you guys, and it's kind of become like the day that I can just kind of sit back, relax, and just be, in the moment. And but I also moonlight under a different channel called Delusions of Grandeur, where I go on about different films when I can, and upload some video footage of the videos that I collect. So definitely check out some of those when you get a chance. Recently, I checked out Stephen Chow's The Mermaid, and
That was a fun.
it was a fun movie. And I believe I checked out one other film.
Ooh.
So definitely check out those two reviews. And I am looking forward to re-checking out Vampire D for the main show. And I know that a lot of people give American Psycho standing O. So I'm looking forward to that one as well. So
Actually, it's that we have forgotten about. We're going to do a compilation with our groups for Halloween, where we are going to set up for that release of that wonderful Friday the 13th set. So next Monday, some of us will be together to discuss the two fan films, Friday the 13th.
Oh, yeah.
Vengeance. So some wonderful stuff coming up.
Dustin, I remember you picking up a character for American Psycho not too long ago. I don't know if you want to be on for that for every show, just to show that character of American Psycho. I think I remember you picking up a character from that film, right? Or is he gone?
Right,
Oh.
well,
I'm still here, I think. That's it!
What?
whoa.
Oh, I was mentioning you because I remembered you picking up an American Psycho character. I was wondering if next week you could show him off.
Oh, show off. Yeah, at Half Price Books one time, I found this huge 18-inch Patrick Bateman figure.
Nice.
Oh,
for your size
You
queen.
don't, even if you don't discuss or anything.
Well, I would prefer the normal size figure, but the giant one was Patrick Bateman is difficult to find in figure form, and it was underpriced by like $100. So it was like, this is coming with me.
I figured even if you came on just for a moment to show that, like in the very beginning, and then if you didn't want to be part of the discussion at all, or whatnot,
That's fine. I just think we should try to have more concise episodes.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to go right now. I got to get up early tomorrow. But,
Alrighty.
night all.
Right.
Say goodnight, everyone.